Alright, so I wanted to do a little lecture this week on the material that we are getting into. So chapters 10 and 11 are what we're focusing on this week. Hold on. Sorry, my mom is calling. So chapters 10 and 11, you'll have a video activity, a case study activity, an exercise, and a reflection for 10. And for 11, there will be a helper studio assignment. So just stay on task, work on those assignments. So this week we are focusing on family functioning, and then I'll move pretty quickly into groups and why we, as social workers, utilize a group setting to intervene. So family functioning and assessment, if you look through your book, whether it be online or hard copy, each heading has to do with a function. So homeostasis, that just means balance, seeking balance. Families seek balance. Boundaries, obviously when you're assessing a family, you want to kind of ask questions about what the family boundaries are. Boundaries are important when assessing because it gives you insight into what issues may exist. And decision making, who makes what decisions in the families you're working with. Family roles, I have nuclear family here. We all know nuclear family is like a mom, a dad, the kids, they all live in the same home. As a social worker, you're really not, in my own experience, I haven't seen a lot of that. It's been, a mom with 3 kids, each child has a different father. So acknowledging that when you're assessing your families that you're working with. Communication styles. You might want to acknowledge developmental level of the people you're working with and how they communicate with one another in the home setting. Family life cycles, I'll go over in the next slide. Family rules are important. Much of my upbringing and what I've worked with in the field, they've not been very similar, right? So in my upbringing, I had very stringent family rules. I knew what the rules were. The families that you're working with, they may not, for instance, the children, the adolescents, they may not be aware of the family rules, which then goes back to boundaries, decision making. All of those things lead into the family rules idea. So assess when you're talking to your families, assess what rules they establish in their homes and how they monitor the compliance with such rules. Social environment, you want to always acknowledge socioeconomic differences. Socioeconomic differences means you might be looking at a family that's incredibly indigent, meaning very poor. You may be looking at a middle-class family or an upper-class family, so acknowledging that when you're assessing. And then always assess for stressors and strengths. I always start with my assessments on strengths, because you can find strengths in anything, in any family. Even if it's they woke up this morning and got their kids to school. That's a strength, that they can follow an agenda, right? Or that they're able to ensure the educational needs of their child. It's just everything else might be falling apart, but just always be on the lookout for a strength. Start your assessment there. I should have put that at the top. Alright, so family life cycles, just acknowledging, for instance, I have a client right now who her children have both left the home and they have created families of their own. she really struggles with that. She wants more time with her son, but her son is engaged in a family setting where he has children of his own. And so just acknowledging, that these are changes that aren't easy to process for some people, and working with them on processing and acknowledging what it is exactly that's interfering with their ability to function. Okay? So moving into groups. So why do we conduct groups as social workers? So we conduct groups because a lot of people share similar interests or common problems. And we might do well if we convene as a group and people can lean on each other, learn from each other, talk to each other, gain support, and engage in activities designed to achieve certain objectives. There are different types of groups. The book talks about treatment groups and task groups. Treatment groups, you're helping people to make changes, enhancing their socio-emotional well-being. We want to educate within our treatment groups. We want to provide education. Sometimes that can include therapy. The therapists that I work with at Journey Recovery Center conduct groups specific to recovery, and all of these people have that in common. They are all seeking recovery and sobriety, and they can interact actively during those groups. Task groups, focus may be on the group as a whole, as a unit of change, a mechanism for influencing the individual members. The communications are much more structured, focusing on discussion of a particular issue or an agenda item. So some of the task groups that I've been involved in, the Heroin Task Force was a group that I was involved in, and a lot of community providers came together to talk about the heroin epidemic and how to achieve a level of change. There was always a very specific agenda, and we were all working towards the same cause. Types of treatment groups, support groups, educational groups, growth groups, therapy groups, socialization groups, and self-help groups. I've observed a lot of support groups, educational groups, and self-help groups. I haven't really observed a lot of therapy groups in my time in the field. With the support groups, you're talking about AA and NA. Educational groups, kind of similar, AA and NA, I guess. I mean, those are educational as well. People sharing their experiences can be educational for another person going through something similar. Self-help groups, you're talking about ways to improve. Again, I mean, AA and NA kind of encompasses self-help, educational, and support. Another support group that I really love is PAL, and it's a group that's within the Northern Kentucky area, supporting parents of addicted loved ones, PAL, parents of addicted loved ones, PAL. And it doesn't really only encompass the parents, but any loved one who has, experienced a situation of substance use from someone that they love, and understanding what they're going through. Al-Anon is similar. It's educating family members on why it is that maybe somebody that they love is using. So task groups, you can read through this. I'm trying to keep this at 15 minutes, and this is a pretty lengthy slide. But I kind of went over task groups already. Give that a read. Establishing a group purpose. Clarifying the overall purpose of the group is vital. Always going over why you're here, the processes, including recruiting and selecting members, deciding on the group's duration, how long is this group going to run, identifying its size and content, determining meeting location and time. All of these things are vital. And decide on group leadership and composition. Who will lead your group? You know, in AA and NA, they have leads, and in those settings, people are talking about their experiences in recovery and in use, and then in recovery. Will they be opened or closed? Open groups means that anyone can join anytime. AA and NA have opened and closed groups. So the closed groups mean that there's a selection process. Like, people come in, they join the group when it starts. So, for instance, the Family Nurturing Center, they operate upon a lot of closed group situations where, like, their parenting groups, they start, for instance, on June 21st, and they run until August 2nd. And no one can weave in and out. They build upon a curriculum. So it wouldn't make sense for someone to jump in the middle of a closed group, because they're going to miss a lot of what was talked about in the first few weeks. So the open groups are interesting because you can jump in at any time and you can gain. Always consider group size and location, frequency and duration. How many times are you going to meet? And for how long are you going to meet? Okay? So I wanted to go into this before I close this lecture out. I opened all of the assignments and I extended the due dates. I had quite a few students reach out to me recently with some personal circumstances, and with COVID, and everybody's kind of in this up in the air, trying to get through kind of state of mind. I felt like it was time to just take that stressor away. The assignments are open. Feel free to indulge, get in there, work on assignments. They're all due August 2nd, like I said, but I do want to stress, stay on task. If assignments are not completed by August 2nd, I cannot give you an extension. That's the end of the semester. So get in there and work on those assignments. Know that I'm here for you guys. Reach out if you have any questions. And thank you for your time tonight.